As you know, disasters, both natural and man-made, can strike at any moment and often when we least expect it. So the best thing that we can do is be prepared. However, by coming together today to learn about preparedness, you're taking a proactive approach to safeguarding your loved ones, your neighbors, your neighborhood, and yourself in times of crisis. There are a lot of resources, as you can see, that are here, and many community partners. So just want to point out those that have actively been involved in planning this event and will be presenting to you this evening. We have Chino Hills Police Department, Chino Valley Fire, Southern California Edison, many of our Chino Hills City Manager's Office staff, including our Emergency Services Coordinator, Joyce Lee, and many agencies that are participating in our informational booths. Throughout this workshop, we're going to explore a wealth of valuable information and practical strategies designed to equip you with the knowledge and tools necessary to face emergencies head-on. Together, we'll delve into the importance of preparedness, disaster risk reduction, and critical roles that each one of us plays in building a safer, more resilient community. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to get right into it. But first, I do want to introduce a few of our notable dignitaries that are here. So please join me in welcoming Mayor Peter Rogers. He's here in the room today. Councilmember Ray Marquez. We also have City Manager Benjamin Montgomery, Assistant City Manager Rod Hill, and I do see that we have two people from our Chino Valley Fire District Board, and it looks like we have Director Mike Krieger and also Vice President Harvey Luth. Also here this evening is John Ding, representing Congresswoman Young Kim's office. Thank you for being here. And then also, I would really be remiss if I didn't mention our commissioners. So if you are a city commissioner, just take a quick stand or a quick wave and just let people know that you're here. Again, so many of our community are involved in various ways, and so any chance that we get to let you know about those individuals that are making a difference in our community, we really want to take the time to do that. So you all have gone through, many of you have gone through some of the booths. You'll get an opportunity to do that again in a break that is scheduled, and you all have an agenda there. There are some great preparedness information that's over there in the booths. I just want to point out who's over there for you. American Red Cross is here, yep. Livestream was not able to make it last minute, but they were planning to be here. Our CHART, Chino Hills Radio, Auxiliary Radio Team, CHART is there. And as you can see, there is a big contingent of volunteers, and they do so much to help us communicate during emergencies. So thank you for the time that you put in for that program. Our Chino Hills Police Department, I mentioned them before, they are here. Chino Valley Fire District, our Emergency Services Team, Inland Valley Humane Society and SPCA, Southern California Edison is here, and then Allied Restoration Disaster Defense is also here, so take a look at their booth as well. They do quite a bit for hardening your home. So, and then a quick bit of housekeeping. So as we go through the program, Please know that you can get up, go to the restroom if you need to, get a drink if you need to. The drinking fountains are right outside by the vending machine, and our bathrooms are to the left in the main lobby. I do see we have another fire district board member. It looks like Director Sarah Ramos Evanger just arrived. Thank you for being here. Okay, so we're going to jump right into introducing our first speaker. If I can get through all this paper up here. Okay, so let me introduce you to Joyce Lee. Joyce is our Emergency Services Coordinator for the City of Chino Hills. She joined the city in January after serving as an emergency manager in the Air Force for 4 years. She believes that the key to being prepared is making preparedness a mindset that incorporates preparedness into our daily habits, as opposed to a checklist that we look at only once in a while or twice a year. During her time in the Air Force, Joyce also completed her master's degree in emergency services management with Columbia Southern University. Let's welcome Joyce Lee, who will be covering the importance of disaster preparedness. Joyce?
Thank you, Valerie. Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? All good? All right. It's great seeing so many of you come out for our event tonight, so thank you. So I'm going to go over briefly our agenda, if it wants to work. Technical difficulties. All right, let's see. All right, perfect. So first, we just went through our intro and all of our booth hosts that we have here tonight. Thank you all again for coming out and supporting us. And then I will be going over our emergency preparedness and how to make an emergency plan, as well as signing up for emergency alerts. And then we will have Chino Valley Fire Department go over wildfire preparedness and emergency communications. And then we'll take a 15-minute intermission. During that intermission, you guys can go back over to the booths, and all of the agencies will be here for that. After our intermission, we will go to evacuation procedures and emergency communications with Chino Hills Police Department. And then we will be closing with SCE for the public safety power shutoffs. And then we will do our raffle. So please make sure you stay to the very end for our raffle items. We have some great raffle items over there. Yes, thank you for the encouragement. So we have some wonderful items that we will be raffling off at the end. So without further ado, I will go into planning for disasters. We have all sorts of disasters in this area, right? You have wildfires that can occur, you have earthquakes. So we like to make sure that we encourage our residents to always stay up to date on their preparedness. So first step in starting to make sure you and your family are prepared is to make an emergency plan. So with that emergency plan, that starts by talking to one another, talking and asking your family questions like, how will I receive my emergency alerts? What is my shelter plan? So are you going to shelter in your house? Do you have loved ones that you have to care for that are nearby? Are you going to shelter with them instead? Coming up with those plans. What is your evacuation route? You know, in the event of a house fire, what are you going to do? Same thing in the event of an earthquake. Where are you going to go? What's the easiest routes out of your house? And then what is your household's communication plan? Different individuals use different things. Are you going to rely on social media? Are you going to rely on landlines? Different plans for different families. And then, do you need to update your emergency preparedness kit? I mean, how many of you have updated that in the last year, right? I'm guilty. I forgot to update mine too until like a month ago. So yeah, seeing what you have in your emergency kits, making sure that those non-perishable items are updated frequently, updating your batteries for your flashlights, right? So just taking a look at that at least once a year. And so One thing you can do with that for signing up for your emergency alerts, if you live in the city of Chino Hills, you can visit our website at chinohills.org/emergency alerts to sign up for our Chino Hills e-notify. That'll notify you of any emergencies in the city as well as your road closures. So I know that's a big one. I need to sign up for it soon. And then you have your San Bernardino County Telephone Emergency System, or TENS, for the county. That's available on the county website. And then for road closures, if you don't want to sign up for the alerts, you can call that phone number for your up-to-date alerts. Another great idea to have is to sign up for earthquake alerts, right? Especially here in Southern California. It actually went off the other day for me when I was a little bit out of town. So it works great, scares the daylights out of you, wakes you up so you know, hey, emergency, take cover. It gives you directions on what to do during that earthquake, and it gives you about a 10-second heads up before you start feeling that shaking. So it can make a huge difference in ensuring your safety and your family's safety in an earthquake. So you can get that app. It's called My Shake app. It's available for both iPhone and Android. So then the next step would be looking at your emergency kits, right? So a basic kit will have water, 1 gallon of water per person per day for 3 days is what we recommend. And then food for at least a 3-day supply for each individual in your family. Battery powder or hand crank radio weather. We will be raffling one away tonight, so maybe you'll be the lucky person going home with one. We also recommend flashlights with extra batteries. Never hurts to have more batteries than you think. Trust me, you run out of them if your power's out for a week. And then first aid kits, that's always essential. Tonight we're actually raffling off a pet first aid kit, so don't forget your pets when you're putting together your emergency kits. And then an emergency whistle. If you're, stuck and you need to alert emergency services, it's a great item to have. And then a wrench or a plier to turn off utilities. Another item we are raffling off tonight. And then a manual can opener. It's one I always forget. Last disaster I was in was in the middle of a snowstorm. I couldn't leave my place, and I had a broken can opener, so that was fun trying to figure that out with a knife. I might or may not have cut my hand. It's fine. But highly recommend having a manual can opener that works. And then also getting your local maps. So, the old ones that we used to do from like the paper ones, like MapQuest or something even. Having those on hand so that if power's out or if your phone has died, not relying solely on that for your maps, but having hard copies for your local areas. And then for your cell phones, having your extra chargers with you and those backup battery power sources. Next step is consider the specific needs for individuals in your households. So you have different members of different ages, right? You have different dietary needs in your home. You have children, or do you have pets or service animals? Do different individuals speak different languages in your household? What's their communication plan to communicate with emergency services personnel? The different medical needs for each individual in the household and different types of medications. And along the same lines of that, for individuals with disabilities or access and functional needs, if they have any type of equipment that requires battery power, what are your plans for that if the power is out? So along the same lines, for individuals with disabilities and access and functional needs, a couple items to consider: creating a group of people to help support you, so family members, neighbors, and sharing your disaster plan with them. Planning ahead of time for accessible transportation. I know that that's always a big one for a lot of individuals. Do you have access or have somebody to help transport you should you need it out of the area? And then, again, medical equipment. Do you have a backup battery for it? Do you have a backup plan for gaining power for it? And then communications. Again, if you have communication disabilities, how are you going to be able to communicate with others? Creating communication cards ahead of time is helpful. There are a lot of different ways to do that. There's actually a brochure at my booth that goes into lots of information for individuals with access and functional needs on communication plans. So feel free to check that out later during our intermission. And then for older adults, it's a very similar list of items, creating that support network that can help you in the event of an emergency. If you go under routine treatments or require medical support devices, having that plan with your doctor and your family on how to still keep those services up. And then if you have communication-related disabilities, again, coming up with your communication plan. And then don't forget service animals or pets. Not all shelters accept pets, so plan for alternatives if you have pets or emergency services animals. Along that same line, have an evacuation plan for your pets. Are they going to go to a pet-friendly shelter with you, or are you going to drop them with a family friend out of town? What are your plans for that? Use a buddy system, so having neighbors watch after your animals if you're going to be out of town. If there's a bad storm, at least they know what your emergency plan is for your pet. And then create a pet emergency kit. And again, we will be raffling one off tonight, so maybe you will win that. And then having your pet microchipped is a big one, so that if you are separated from your animal, you can then be reunited after the disaster. And then tips for large animals. Ensure all animals have some form of identification. And then evacuate those large animals earlier. It takes a lot of time to evacuate larger animals, so having that plan in place ahead of time with your vehicles and trailers and drivers needed for that, and then evacuating early. And then ensuring that the destination has food, water, veterinary care, and any type of handling equipment needed for those types of animals. And then if evacuation is not possible, you have to unfortunately make that hard decision of, do you put them up in a barn somewhere, or do you turn them loose for their safety? Step 3 is creating that plan, right? So now that you've had those discussions, you've taken those considerations into place, implementing that plan. So here's some examples of some forms that you can use to fill out a plan. Really, a pencil and paper, you can write it out. As long as it's something that you and your family are on the same page about, that's all that matters. Putting those important emergency contact numbers and your communication plan, as well as a family meetup place should you get separated. Those are your core items to include in that family emergency plan. And then finally, step 4, practice, practice, practice your plan. Show of hands, has anybody practiced their emergency plan with their family recently? A couple. All right, I'm guilty. I haven't practiced mine either. It's just me, so I feel like it's up here, but hey. But no, practice your emergency plans with your family at least yearly. So after you've had that discussion, after you've updated your emergency kit, and you throw out those old packets of ramen that have been there for 10 years, practice your plan with your family, especially for younger children. Practice those a little more frequently. They kind of forget some of those things. You can turn it into a game even. So practice that. Make sure everyone is on the same page with your plan. And then here are some resources of great information. Our emergency preparedness website on chinohills.org, as well as the county website for emergency alerts. Ready.gov is a great website if you have young children. They have different emergency preparedness games on there, coloring books, fun activities for kids, and then they have different lists for different types of disaster. So even disasters that aren't around here, if you're traveling to go visit family, and they're in an area that's more inclined for snowstorms, right? We don't really get those out here too often, but you can look up the tips on that website and be prepared before you go. And then we have the redcross.org/gethelp, how to prepare for emergencies. Another great website with lots of preparedness tips for you and your family. that is it. So thank you. And I will now, Valerie, were there any questions submitted for me yet? All right, cool.
They're general for what they are.
All right.
This one will be covered in evacuations, and this one can be covered at the end as well. So
Okay,
nothing
perfect.
specific to yours.
All right, thank you. All right, so then I will go ahead and get ready to introduce the Chino Valley Fire District. So tonight, on my many pages, we have with us Jeremy Alt, who is the Deputy Chief, and Austin Ott, our Deputy Fire Marshal from Chino Valley Fire Department. They will be going over wildfire preparedness, hardening your homes in defensible space, as well as sources for emergency information. Chief Alt joined Chino Valley Fire in 2000 as a firefighter paramedic, and in 2012 was promoted to the rank of Deputy Chief. Chief Alt previously served as an engineer and captain with the fire district. Currently, Chief Alt serves as Deputy Chief of Emergency Services and EMS. He since his promotion to Deputy Chief, he serves as a strike team leader and has been working with numerous wildland fires, both large and small. And then Chief Alt joined the Chino Valley Fire District in 2016 as a fire inspector, and in 2018 was promoted to his current position of Deputy Fire Marshal. Austin was assigned to the communication compliance section with community risk reduction, community compliance, including programs such as the maintenance inspection program, vegetation management, and outreach. So I'll turn that over to both of them. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I just wanted to real quick ask if you could kind of squeeze in. We have several people in the back that are standing, and we want to make sure we have room for everybody to come grab a seat who would like to take a seat. So just wanted to do that real quick. So if you could kind of squeeze in so people have room. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Good evening, everyone. As you heard a lot about me, my name is Jeremy Alt. I'm one of the deputy fire chiefs over at the fire district. One person that's here with us tonight that I promised I would introduce, and she's going to hate me for it. In the back of the room is Danielle O'Toole. She's actually our fire marshal. She's amazing, and she leads our community risk reduction team. Does anybody in the room a resident of Chino Hills? I assume many of you are, right? And as residents of Chino Hills, there's a very high likelihood that your residence or home is near a wildland interface area, or there's area near your home that is vegetation, or, I mean, it's a beautiful place to live, but with that comes certain risks. And this evening, we're gonna have an opportunity, briefly, I guess I have like 2 hours to talk, is that correct? That means I'm gonna have to condense. If you know me, you know that means I gotta make it short for 2 hours. No, I'm kidding. We will be brief. We could go into a lot of depth. But we're going to talk about a few things this evening. We have a short video to play you. I'll share a couple of experiences from our recent fire that we had here and a couple other lessons learned. And then we're going to talk about, Austin will talk about hardening your home and a couple other strategies. All right? So with that, we'll begin this video. It actually has to do with how to harden your home, or it's a visual representation of what a home may undergo during the course of a wildland fire. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so why would we bring a video this evening and show you someone's house burning down? This was actually a scientific test done in a controlled circumstance to measure speed, the way things ignite, how they ignite, and the entire exercise is to raise awareness. In just a second, Austin will talk about methods that you can use to harden your home, we call it, which is actually, again, if we're at a preparedness exercise or preparedness evening, we're talking about being proactive to be aware and prepared in the event ahead of time. So that means he's going to have some examples of what you can do to the vegetation around your home, to the actual building materials of your home. I'm actually going to skip a little bit ahead before he gets there and talk about other things that you can do, basically which we consider to be the most important. And frankly, that's to not be there. Okay? In the 2008 Freeway Complex fire and also the recent 2020 Blue Ridge fire, I had an opportunity to serve in what we call tactical roles. For the last fire, I was, what would you say, in charge of our fire operations for our entire county side of the incident for the first couple of days. What you'll notice is that all the vegetation, or the majority of the vegetation in our area, is all what we call light, flashy fuels. Would you agree? It's a lot of tall grasses, some trees mixed in, but a lot of grass. In the event that we had wildfires in what we call that light, flashy fuel, and as you've seen, it gets blown by the wind and travels very, very quickly. So that means in the event that a fire occurs near your home, you may not have a lot of time to leave. What's most important to us, that we can actually get in and access your home and be able to do the work that we need to do, is that when we set up our command and work with our partners from the Sheriff's Department, the Chino Hills Police Department, and other cooperators, at some point we may come to a decision as incident commanders that we order evacuations. And you'll hear different terms like an evacuation warning and an evacuation order. An evacuation order, when we decide to make that order, it's a legal order telling you to leave your home. And the reason we do that, we don't take that lightly at all. We take many things into consideration. In fact, we understand that you may be displaced, you may not be able to get back to your home for a while, but we take careful consideration that we do that hopefully ahead of time, with enough time for you to be able to gather your belongings, your predetermined kits that you have. If you've already been proactive and bought small kennels for your animals, like the plastic ones you can just keep in the garage, those kinds of things, when we order those evacuations with our Sheriff's Department, we ask you to please obey those orders and leave. The reason is, what you didn't see in this video is any kind of smoke. This was very controlled, okay? Having lived through almost dying personally in a vegetation fire, being burned over in an engine that I was in, and a couple other experiences, I can tell you, being in the path of a growing wildfire is one of the most terrifying experiences you will ever experience, okay? And I do this for a living. If you are waiting at home after we've asked you to evacuate, trying to watch the news or to decide for yourself when you should leave, you've already made the mistake. We're thinking ahead. We're trying to prepare and ask you to evacuate. And the reason we want to do that early is actually to provide that access for us, right? Some of the roads in our community are not that wide. When it's a normal day's worth of traffic, for any of you that have driven through the canyon, you can understand sometimes traffic is an issue. Imagine if the people driving through the canyon are terrified for their lives, right? Now imagine a bunch of fire engines trying to get up the same road you're trying to get out. And we talked about livestock. We still do have some livestock in the canyon and other areas of our community. The issue with livestock often is that when folks, if you're a horse person or if you are equine or other large stock folks, they all respond to help typically. And I can share from experience, one horse trailer sideways in the middle of a road because someone went the wrong way and trying to make a U-turn can absolutely disrupt a tremendous amount of access or egress, we call it. So because people are trying to do the right thing, they're trying to get there and help get livestock out of the area, but it can be very terrifying and chaotic. And when that happens, it really impedes our ability to get in and do the work that we need to do. So if I will leave you with one thing this evening, first understand this. Your fire district here in town has done tremendous work with our cooperators, with the city. If you saw the last fire, we have aircraft flying, we have cooperators with CAL FIRE and a couple other agencies. We do the work ahead of time to make sure our relationships are strong and that our plans are in place, that our people are well trained, and we bring you the very best we can. What we ask of you is to do your part. Get your house ready, and when we ask you to leave, please leave.
Thank you, Chief. So as Chief Alt was saying, we can't emphasize enough how important evacuation is. But what I'll speak to now is actually preparing your house, right? So we need to get you out of there because we value your lives above everything else. But let's talk about maybe how we can give our homes the best chance of surviving. So we always start this conversation just by talking about removing weeds and dead vegetation and things like that, right? The typical requirements are going to be 100 feet from a house, right, to keep clear of any dead vegetation and weeds. You'll see the city does a great job. They have 3,000 acres. They cut behind everybody's house, 100-foot fire break between the houses and the open space. But what this video does a great job of demonstrating is in a wildfire, we deal with something called ember cast. And in a fast-moving wildfire, a Santa Ana wind-driven event, for example, ember cast could go as far as a mile. So if I were to ask everybody here to raise your hand if you live within 100 feet of an open space, there might only be a small section of you. But if I ask who lives within 1.2 miles or a mile, it's most of us, right? So these are kind of some things we can do to prepare our house and to harden our home. So after removing the dead vegetation, some of them are really easy, right? So make sure your roof is clear of leaves and pine needles, things like that, because you saw in the video, embers getting into the roof valleys and there's stacked up leaves and those catch on fire. Let's see, removing also combustible vegetation, or excuse me, combustible mulch, leaves, hay bales, things like that within 0 to 5 feet of the home. Because again, those embers are gonna get stopped up against the side of your house and drop, and they'll continue to burn. So that 0 to 5 feet from the house, the new science is telling us that's the most important part of our defensible space zones to eliminate the possibility of embers igniting your home. So really take a look at that 0 to 5 feet. If you can do non-combustible mulch, such as DG or rock, crushed stone, that's all really helpful, or of course concrete. Removing dead trees and shrub branches that overhang roofs. So again, keeping the dead, easily ignitable vegetation away from the house. Some things that are more like home improvement related might include looking at your gutters. If they're plastic, maybe replace them with steel. At the very least, look at gutter guards, which keep leaves and pine needles out of the gutters, because again, those can get stopped up. And of course, that's not good for drainage either, so you might be doing that already, but it also has a negative wildfire impact as well. You can look at your attic vents and your eaves and blocking them with 1/8 inch wire mesh. So actually Allied has some of that over there for you to check out. And you know, these are home improvement projects, but they are well worth it. And we always kind of say, hey, kind of do the easier things like keeping your patio furniture 5 feet away from the house, keeping you know, combustible mulch, things like that. Keep those away from the house. But then maybe once every year, or once a year, once every 2 years, once every 3 years, as time and funds allow, make a home improvement for the hardening of your home. And again, I'll just leave you with that 0 to 5 feet. If you take one thing away, when a wildfire is coming, put your patio furniture in the garage. If you have time, of course, we need to get you out first and foremost. But if you have the time to remove combustible patio furniture and things like that from your decks, from your patios, put them in the house. Close your windows, right, so the embers don't come through the screens like we kind of saw. That's the one thing that I would leave you with there. So these are all different tips that you're more than welcome to take to heart, and we have some great information over there at our booth that a lot of you already have. But if not, please come see us at the break, and we can talk further. And if you have a special circumstance, please let us know.
Thank you both so much. All right, and now oh, yes.
For your house? So kind of the minimum that any fire code official is going to recommend is a 2A 10 BC. So I don't know if we have any in the, there's one behind one of our sheriff's deputies over there. That's a little bit bigger than you would need, but for the house, especially with a kitchen, you don't want to just have a water fire extinguisher because that can make a grease fire work. So having one that's rated for B and C as well, which are your electrical and gas fires, is really helpful. Yeah. Yeah, and they have them at Home Depot, Costco. I mean, all the home improvement centers will have those, about $30 a piece. Anybody else at this time?
Thank you both. All right, thank you, everyone. So we're going to continue with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, or you might know them as Chino Hills Police. They will be covering evacuation procedures and communications. So with us, we have Corporal Steve Kessler and Sheriff's Service Specialist Jennifer Davis. Corporal Steve Kessler has been a San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department member for 18 years. Throughout his career, he has undertaken a wide range of assignments, including an assignment in Rancho Cucamonga and an assignment in Highland, Public Affairs, Employee Resources, Narcotics, and Corrections. He is currently a supervisor for the Traffic Division, School Resources Officers, and Sheriff's Services Specialist. His enthusiasm lies in matters concerning quality of life and advocating for heightened situational awareness during emergencies or disasters. And Sheriff's Service Specialist Jennifer Davis has worked for the County of San Bernardino since 2015 and has been at the Chino Hills Station for the past 8 years. She performs multiple duties, including crime prevention and community relations. She is a resident of Chino and strives to communicate disaster management to the community. Thank you both.
Thank you. Before I get started, I want to also introduce a few of the other members from the Sheriff's Department that are here tonight. Sergeant Shannon Laub. And we also have Sheriff's Service Specialist Alex Reyes and Denise Tayo. And from our headquarters, we have the Sheriff's Emergency Services Coordinator, Frank Cams. And tonight, a few of the things that we want to talk to you are some of the databases that you can, and apps that you can sign up for to give yourself some early warnings for disasters or natural other issues that are happening in times when there might be an evacuation that's needed, as well as a few other things you can do to help prepare yourself for those disasters. The first one I want to talk about is the telephone emergency notification system. It's also known as TENS. What that is it's a high-speed notification system that is put out during any time that there's an evacuation or a natural disaster. What you do is you'll sign up for this on the website that's listed below there. So I do encourage you guys to take photographs of this page so that you can go home and sign up for it. You can put your landline or your cell phone number into the database with your information. And what's going to happen is that when there is a natural disaster or any time that we're going to have an evacuation, if you live in the area that is going to need to be evacuated or that there's some sort of issue that's going on that we want you to be aware of, you're going to get a phone call with an automated message explaining what the issue is, or you'll get a text message. This database gets updated every 6 months. Another application that you can sign up for emergency notifications is the the Ready SB application. And that's free to all San Bernardino County residents. And it's another good one that you can sign up for to give you in emergency notifications. The city has also set up one specifically for Chino Hills residents on their Chino Hills City e-Notify, and the website is listed down there as well. What I'm going to show you right now is how this TENS system actually works, okay?
During a major disaster such as a wildfire, your fire and sheriff's department uses a system known as the Telephone Emergency Notification System, or TENS, to send high-speed mass notifications by telephone and text messages. This system helps us get critical updates such as evacuation information out as quickly as possible.
Mandatory evacuations in the area.
A database of landline telephone numbers is updated every 6 months. But if you only use a mobile phone or have more than one mobile phone in your family, it's important for you to register those mobile numbers into TENS to receive these critical updates.
Visit sbcounty.gov/TENS to sign up for emergency text messages. TENS alerts are targeted to the affected areas. Enter a valid San Bernardino County street address and you will only receive those alerts for your local area.
Help us keep you safe during a disaster by registering your mobile phone number today.
Now, something that's also going to happen is that these notifications are going to go out through each cell phone tower. So if you're in that area, or maybe it's right next to you, you might also get that notification as well. Okay, if you're out of town, you're going to get those notifications too, okay, because you've already registered for that area. Okay. One of the other applications that you can sign up for is called Smart 911. Okay, now California is in the process right now, as well as the rest of the country, in upgrading their 911 systems. So they're going from an analog system to a digital one. Now what this application you can do is when you sign up, you're going to set up a profile for yourself and anybody else who might be residing in your home. Okay, and you're going to provide a little bit more information about yourself and those other residents in there that are going to help assist the 911 operator who answers your call, if you have to make it, to give them a little bit more information to help them speed up that process in getting you the emergency services that you might be needing, okay? It's a free application. At the moment right now, this is what it's getting ready to is launch is once the system goes to that next generation 911 system, this will then be implemented, okay? So this is kind of get yourself ready so that as soon as we go live with that next generation 911 system, it's all ready to go and it's in there, okay? Correct. So as the system gets upgraded and they go through, it will go live. So this is something that you could share with other family members who maybe don't live in this area. Okay. I'm going to hand this over to Jen now.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you again for coming. And before I get into our slideshow, who all has participated in National Night Out? Have you all participated? It's actually really good because I was expecting a lot less because a lot of times with these meetings, we don't see a lot of people that go to the National Nights Out. I am going to bring that up again of why that's so important. That is something that it's one of my favorite nights, and it's something this emergency preparedness is what I talk a lot about with our residents. So we'll talk about why that's important too. Officials will determine the areas to be evacuated and the routes to use depending on the fire's natural disaster or natural disasters. I cannot stress enough what a fluid situation this becomes. Chief Ott said it the best. If you need to go, you need to go. And we will give you that. We'll prepare you as much as we possibly can, depending on what kind of information that we are given by fire. I worked the Blue Ridge Fire, and I learned so much from our fire personnel on what to do and how to start getting that communication out to our residents. Law enforcement agencies are responsible for enforcing the evacuation order. Corporal Kessler will explain to you the PC code where that falls in. You will be advised by potential evacuations as early as possible. We know what a scary time that is, right? We were just talking about that earlier. We know how stressful that is. We know it's a lot to remember and a lot to get together. That's why the preparation is so important to have that ready to go. We will try to give you as much time as possible as we're given by our fire personnel. Have a plan with your family and neighbors that may need assistance. That's where that National Night comes out. Because you'll already have that plan set with your family, hopefully, but what about your neighbors? Do you know your neighbors? Do you know the neighbor that lives several houses down? Do you wonder if that neighbor has their newspapers piling up? Have you talked to that neighbor before? It's that kind of information that we're going to need as well, because as we're evacuating, if you don't know that neighbor that lives down the street, but her newspapers have been piling up, maybe we need to get over there as quickly as possible as well. Does that make sense? Okay, so you must take the initiative to stay informed and stay aware. That's what Corporal Kessler was talking about with the different apps, and we'll try to get out as much information as possible. We can go ahead and press. Once evacuated, you will not be allowed back in until it's safe to return. This is probably the one area that I like to hit on the most, just from personal experience when I worked that fire, is that when we evacuate your neighborhoods, we own that neighborhood at that point. We want to protect your homes and your neighborhood from anybody from the outside trying to get in. You all have heard of looters that will try to take advantage of situations like that, and they are out there. But please understand, we understand that it is scary. It is time to go. When our deputies and our staff gives you that evacuation order, it's time to go. If you leave, you made that right choice to leave. There is no coming back. And that's important to know. That's why it's important to have all of your stuff ready to go, medication, everything else that we've talked about, because you will not be allowed back in, no matter what, under any circumstance. We can't take that risk. So that's important. If you see city personnel manning a road closure, they are providing PD with extra manpower. That's important to know too. If you see any of our citizens on patrol, they're in the white, they are given that power not to allow you back in as well. So we have to abide by that. They do not have the authority to allow you access into that evacuated area. And above and beyond all else, if you feel like it's a dangerous situation and it's too much to handle, go. You don't even need to wait for us to have to go. Be ready to evacuate as soon as you know danger is near. Again, I know that that is a very fluid situation. It changes all the time. But if you know that it's too much for you to handle, or you haven't heard from us and you can't get through, it's time to go. Is there any questions? I'll hand it back over.
I'm going to show you a quick video that we put together explaining some of the evacuation orders and what to do.
Hi, this is Deputy Adam Cervantes from your San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Wildfire season is here, and you need to be prepared. Our number one priority during a fire emergency is your safety. Being ready for an evacuation order is vital, so take the time today to get your wildfire action plan and emergency supply kit in order before disaster strikes. Information is critical during an emergency, so when your local law enforcement agency gives an evacuation order, it's time to go, and go fast. Those that refuse a mandatory evacuation put their lives and the lives of other emergency personnel at risk. So how can you get prepared and stay informed during an emergency? Download the Ready SB County Disaster Preparedness app. It'll walk you through step by step on how to be prepared and alert you when it's time to evacuate. And if smartphone apps aren't for you, you can sign up for the Reverse 911 Emergency Alerts at sbcfire.org or sbcounty.gov/sheriff. Once again, this is Deputy Adam Cervantes from your San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, urging you to be ready for wildfire season.
For us later on, we are having National Coffee with a Cop is October 4th at Panera Bread from 8 to 10. We would love to see you all there, and we can go into more discussion on that as well, okay? Being prepared and what that looks like for you. Having your car backed into the driveway for a quick escape. That is so important because, again, depending on where you live and if it's a tight spot and it's stressful and you're thinking about trying to get out of the driveway, it's always going to be easier for you if you're already facing out. Car has plenty of gas. How many people, because I am the first one to admit it, how many people go to bed that night going, I'll get gas in the morning? I'm in trouble for it all the time. So make sure, especially because, right? Please make sure that you have plenty of gas, because that is the last place that you want to be, is to run out of gas when we're trying to get everybody out. Important items and documents loaded. You all know what that means to you. So your important documents, have them by the door, ready to go. Cell phone charged, portable chargers packed. I mean, these are things that we don't really think about in that moment. So if you think about them now, how much more ready you will be to leave. Priceless items. Can anybody think about what a priceless item would be? Photographs. I've always told my mom, have everything ready to go that you want to go, that cannot technically be replaced. Personal needs and prescriptions. That is the big thing that when we shut down the neighborhoods over for Blue Ridge, we had so many people wanting to go back into their homes for their medication. Please have a backup plan for that. Have your pharmacy on speed dial, whatever you need to do for that. Make sure you have a backup plan for medication. That was probably the #1 reason people wanted to go back home. Is there any questions on that? Okay. Please.
Or a bigger one. Yes, sir.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to, because we do not know what kind of danger we really are confronting with in this time period in this world, shouldn't we, if we have important things to have with us every day, such as high blood pressure pills and things like that, to get like a 6-month supply ahead of time so that you have it with you when something happens?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if everybody heard that. Having about a 6-month supply of your medication is actually really smart. If you've got a plan that will allow you to do that, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Oh. Sorry.
I have a fire proof safe. You can get them at Home Depot. I have my passport, birth certificate, any documents that I need or that I just want to grab and go is in my fireproof safe.
How heavy is it?
It's not that heavy.
Perfect.
Mine is small, and it just has a little handle on it.
Yeah.
And it has just birth certificates, passports, medical, vaccination stuff in there.
Did everybody hear that? That's really good.
Important stuff. They have bigger. I mean, you get them at Home Depot. They're big, but mine's just small. Maybe a little bit bigger than my laptop.
Perfect. I like that. You had a question.
I don't know the answers. We still have a landline. Is it still necessary to have a landline? Is it advisable?
So her question was, is it still important to have a landline?
I think that's up to you.
Yeah. As far as like safety goes, you're good. If you want, I mean, it's a personal preference.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you
I'd like to get rid of it, but then I'm nervous because I'm thinking, is it worth having?
Well, I don't even know if your phone company will still service it if it gets damaged. So if you have one, you're kind of lucky, because I'm not sure if they're installing new ones. Yeah, if you, yeah, yep, yeah, if yes, especially some of the ridges here, yeah, yeah. So one of the other things we want you to do is pay attention to the radio or the news, and when we're gonna give you updates via those resources in the media, and looking out for all these notifications from either the fire department or from us, letting you know that it's time to evacuate or where the evacuations are happening. A lot of times the information is also going to be shared with, hey, you can go here, the Red Cross is going to be over at this spot, or where, hey, maybe you can take some of the animals that you have if you need to. Because a lot of places, especially if you're going to need some sort of housing, they're not going to welcome your pets as well. So that information is going to be put out through the media. So please do pay attention to that one. And like you'll see on there, sometimes you may be directed to somewhere that's a temporary area to stay that's going to be a safer spot for you. And the big thing that we wanted to talk about is, yes, California Penal Code 409.5. That's what gives law enforcement the authority to restrict access to areas that we have deemed as a natural disaster, whether it's an earthquake, it's a fire, or some other horrible incident that's happened that we've got to keep the public out of. So if you're in there, this is one of those things where we can use this automatically for these people that it might be up to no good because all of the residents have left, is, hey, we can arrest you for that, okay? But that's why we're going to tell you, hey, we don't want you going back into that area until either we or the fire department has designated that as it's safe for you to return, okay? Yes, ma'am. Oh, that's a good question.
That's a really good question. KMX? KNX? What was the first one? K-Frog? K-Frog? What's the number? Oh,
What's the number again for K-Frog?
those are really good questions. I'm like, well, I want to make sure I'm sorry? Yes, so San Bernardino County for our public affairs updates our Facebook. I update the Instagram, so I don't know if a lot of people are on Instagram. A lot of times that gets shared. But I would tell you to check the city's website, because they have it constantly rolling, and we are in constant contact with the city for that as well. Yes. That's beautiful. I love that. Did everybody hear that? She scans everything to the cloud. Yes, ma'am. So we will be doing, as we get information from fire for the different neighborhoods, we will be getting out there trying to get the information out as well. So that's why you, on the video, you saw the unit that went through and he was making the announcements. You'll be getting that as well. We'll try to get that information as soon as we get the okay from fire. Yes.
Communication. This is evacuation, which is very, very important. We have people that are really ticked off because there's going to be in an area that I take care of for the city, the Richmond Trail, there's going to be an anticipated tower there. This particular phone, if everybody begins to use it, gets tied up. And it's been happening a lot. That's a fact. Now, we have people, I spoke to an individual who said, I love looking at the hill. Well, fine. But what are you going to do if you can't get communicated? I have had Verizon, DirecTV, Spectrum, those people, their technician in front of my house cannot use their telephone. If that tower was there, if they would build it, there would be communication. They have to go down the hill in order to talk. I don't like to go to the dentist. I hate the dentist. But if I have a toothache, I don't go to a podiatrist, I go to the dentist. And when you want to make a call, you want that person to answer. If somebody calls you, they want to be able to hear you. And if it gets locked up because somebody disliked a particular tower to arise and people die for that, it's a whole different program. People do not plan to fail. They fail to plan.
Good point.
So here's some of the other numbers. Go ahead and take a photo of this. And that website that you can go ahead and update or log in to get yourself onto that database with TENS and the Ready SB County app. Both of those are all going to be available on the App Store for iPhone or Google for Android systems. Now, we had a couple of other questions that people had submitted beforehand. One was related to when the canyon becomes blocked or if traffic is delayed because we've shut down certain areas, because perhaps the area that is our normal evacuation route has been blocked for unknown reasons. There are several other paths that are available for us to get out of the Carbon Canyon. We'll open those up and direct you to those as needed. So it's all going to depend on what route are we currently using, what's been shut down, and there are several other routes that we'll definitely have traffic control out there with our deputies that are going to guide you to the proper place to go to get yourself evacuated. And then we had another question as far as first responders trained to look at address list or cell phones for an entry in case of an emergency, for an emergency contact. And I'm not sure, should individuals make an entry? I'm not sure. Most of the time what will happen is we'll have, while these evacuations are going on, we have citizens that will call us for concern because, hey, maybe there's an elderly parent or family member who's at the house and everybody who's the caretakers are off at work or not in the area. They'll have us specifically go and check that home to make sure that individual's okay. Or if we need to assist in getting them evacuated, we'll have the fire department come with us as well. Same thing happens too when people are notifying us, hey, we've got livestock in the area, and they'll try to help coordinate getting someone up there to help get that livestock out of there. So those phone calls, if you need to advise us of something that's happening up there, especially if it's someone who can't drive anymore or who needs assistance when leaving the home, then by all means, call 911. We're going to put it into the log, and we'll send somebody up there as quickly as we can to help get them out of that zone. But a lot of the times when we're evacuating the areas, a lot of people will delay because they go, well, that's over on that side. I don't really need to. But we know winds change, right? We also know traffic can jam up as well. So that's why you got to go back to with what the fire department is telling you is, hey, if you're getting that notification, it's time to go. Now, hopefully your home won't be affected. Hopefully you're out somewhere safe, and hey, it's better to be safe than sorry. But once you're there, because we do have individuals that said, nope, I'm going to stick it out and we'll see what happens. Okay. Well, once you're there, we might get to a point where now, hey, you need to be rescued. Now you're calling and you're asking us for assistance, but now it's too dangerous for us to get in there to get to you. So by all means, better to be safe than sorry. If you're getting that notification that, hey, you need to evacuate, then please do so. Are there any other questions? You can leave a note. Yeah. Just go, because that does help us. It does speed things up because then at least we know. Because otherwise, what we're doing is we're tagging every house we've been to say, hey, nobody answered the door. You know.
Sorry. No. Go ahead. Were you finished on that? No. So kind of to that point, that's actually a really good point because our deputies spend so much time, and I'll say it isn't even just our deputies. We have deputies from in the entire county that come out to help out. So we get a huge response from the county, from other stations, but we do have them. I don't know if anybody has ever seen a command post on that from our aspect of it. We had huge maps. And we were keeping track of where every single one of those deputies, they had to check in, where they were going. We had constant communication with our deputies, what houses were tagged to say that we also know what houses had people in them. We needed to know that as well, who were refusing to leave. So there is constant communication, but if you have a way to communicate that to us, that's great. We just have a very organized way of tagging everything. So we'll always make note of that. But again, it kind of goes back to where somebody was asking about the, I mean, it was probably that, but it was asking about the different streets, or if you have people that you're concerned about. Let's say you are out when disaster strikes, you haven't made it home, but you know that you've got a neighbor 4 houses down that doesn't have anybody, and that you need them to check. You need us to check on them. We do have a way, we were answering phones like crazy. Call it in. It's okay. We will make sure that we're looking at our maps and making sure that somebody is out there if they haven't already been out there. Okay, but that was a really good point.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Excuse me, in regards to the canyon, again, if there are extreme closures, I mean, after the nightmarish pictures we've seen in Northern California where cars were lined up and sparks were flying and everything else and cars were burning, where are these emergency paths that you're talking about, emergency routes if things are really clogged up?
There's certain streets in certain neighborhoods, and I'm sure you've seen that there are some gates at the ends of those streets. Some of those gates are paths into other neighborhoods to get you over there. It's a short little cut through that'll get you through to the next neighborhood. Most of them are coming through the rest of the county, or through Carbon Canyon and into other pockets that'll get you out through the other neighborhoods. Yeah, of the city. So you might be on the backside of one of the hills, and we can get you through that cut through into the other canyon and down and out. Yeah, so there are several of those that exist in Carbon Canyon. Yes, sir.
Will you be addressing the questions submitted ahead of time?
Yes, we had 2 of those. Sorry, I wasn't sure. Did you have a question that didn't get submitted?
What got submitted?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to ask a question? Those are only the 2 that they handed me. I'm sorry.
Are first responders trained to look into people's cell phones for an entry ICE in case of emergency, to notify someone if there's on that, by their own phone if necessary, or to find that phone number to give them information about what's going on?
So if we come across your cell phone and you want us to look into your contacts for ICE, okay. So I can't get into your phone unless you give me the password.
I was told differently this evening, that there are ways to get in without it.
Not.
So one of our partners actually has that on her phone too, and she was explaining to us what that was. ICE is emergency contact, and if your phone is locked, so let's say this gentleman is unconscious and he's got his phone on him, there is a way to swipe up, and it will say emergency at the bottom. It'll also come up with emergency contacts that you pre-programmed into your phone. Now, I would say to you, because we're not as versed in that, and so to answer your question, we're not as versed in that, that would be definitely something that you would want to check out with your own phone, with your own carriers. You would go through your settings for that. But it's a great, did you want to add to that?
I was having a conversation with some gentlemen earlier. I can't speak with, and I mentioned that I believe some phones have the ability when they're locked, like you can dial 911 on a locked phone, you swipe up. I couldn't remember, depending on the brand of phone, whether or not some of them access an emergency button when you swipe it up when it's locked. So I can't speak with certainty on the brand of phone or that it actually does that way, but we were mentioning that some of our younger firefighters are pretty versed with cell phones, and if your phone is unlocked, they may know to look for that ICE contact, but I can't say with certainty whether or not you can do it for a locked phone.
And that's why it would be really important to check with your carrier, because it's fantastic to have. But I would definitely check with your phone carrier, or have somebody in your household who's very familiar or very comfortable with it, have it check it for you and set that up. You got it? Okay.
There you go.
But you have to set it. Yeah. You need to set hers up. All right.
A lot of times the shelters are going to get set up afterwards as it's coming through. Those evacuations it's time to leave. Now, as things progress and we have other partners with us that are there to help set up these evacuation centers, that stuff's going to come out through the media. But our main concern between the fire department and the sheriff's department when we give out evacuation orders is to get everybody removed from that area. And then shortly from what I've seen when we've had these incidents where we've had to have those evacuations, doesn't take very much longer for Red Cross or some of the other organizations that provide those services to then put that out through social media or through the regular media.
So I'll take that. When you get evacuated from your neighborhood and you go to where it's safe, most people are going to congregate to that area, and then you will be given information at that point. You will not be left alone. I think what's important, I wanted to really kind of reiterate on this. When our deputies go through neighborhoods, they don't have any time, so they can't sit and talk to each one. I know that that's a very stressful time, but we had talked about earlier that it is very fluid. We couldn't tell you right now, this is where you would need to go, because we don't know in an event of an emergency if that place is not, if it's even feasible to go to at that point. So you have to remember the deputies have to get in and out of the neighborhoods. We got to go, or they're giving their message. You've got, you need to start preparing, or whatever the case may be. But you've got, time is of essence. It's really important to just get out of that neighborhood. Once you're out of that neighborhood, you will not be left. You will be given information. I can't stress that enough. As you congregate together, there will be teams that will be coming out. Red Cross is probably one of the biggest ones. You will get information.
But you can always come down to the city hall, to the sheriff's department, or any of the fire departments. We're going to have that information there as soon as we get it. Okay.
Thank you both. All right. So we have one more presentation, and then we will close with our raffle. So up next, we have the Southern California Edison. We have Melissa Boyd and Bob Stein speaking on public safety power shutoffs. Melissa's been a government relation manager with Southern California Edison since January, covering San Bernardino County. And Bob Stein is a manager of PSP protocols and works on wildfire mitigation plans and other emergency planning engagements with local government agencies in SCE service territories. I'm going to turn that over to both of them. To the right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having us here tonight. It's an honor to be here. We are going to be talking tonight. Obviously, we've been talking about wildfire preparedness with Sheriff's Department and our fire department. Thank you so much for the great information and tips that you provided tonight. We are going to be talking about PSPS. If you're not familiar with the term, it means public safety power shutdowns. And that's something that we do in order to mitigate wildfire in our service territory. So this is just a little bit of a infographic here to show you all the ways that we try to mitigate wildfire in our communities. We have a number of ways. One of them is public safety power shutdowns. We also have aerial fire prevention, suppression, and we do covered conductor. If you haven't heard about that, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but that is the little icon there to my right, your left. It's just extra insulation around our lines. And we don't have any fancy videos for you tonight like everybody else, but on Edison's website, there is a video showing the difference that covered conductor does make for our lines there. We also have a number of other programs that we're going to talk about tonight that we want the communities to take advantage of. Our critical care backup battery program, which is connected to our medical baseline program. So if you didn't already, we have a number of brochures here at our table that describe that program. We want to make sure that you are taking advantage of that. If you have anybody in your household that is reliant on medical equipment for their life preserving needs, we want to make sure that we know about it, because we take that very, very seriously. This is just some numbers here to show some of the work that we've been doing. We have exceeded many of what our targets have been for inspections. We're constantly taking a look at our lines and making sure that they're in good working order. We talked about covered conductor. We've exceeded those target goals as well. And we also have the critical care backup battery program. We have had a significant number of folks that have taken advantage of that, and so we're wanting to continue to encourage residents and customers to take advantage of that. You can get a discount if you sign up and show your a doctor's note. You can get a discount on your bill, but it's also something if you're in a high fire risk area, we want to make sure that you are well prepared for in the event of a PSPS that we have to do in your community. This just shows some of the ways that I mentioned already. We have done over 4,400 miles of covered conductor, and that has a significant impact on the number of PSPSs that we've had to do in our service territory. It's significantly gone down, 99% less outage times related to PSPS. Doesn't mean you won't experience an outage, but specifically related to public safety power shutdowns. And those are usually weather related. So we have several high fire risk inspection cameras. We have weather stations, we have HD cameras, and we also do a lot of vegetation management. We have done over 1.9 million trims and tree removals if needed, if things are near our lines and our equipment. We want to take that very, very seriously. In San Bernardino County, again, this is just some more numbers. You can take a look at that, the number of inspections that we've done. The covered conductor, again, breaks it down for you with the structure brushing that we've done, weather stations, and also community crew vehicles. That's something that, and resource centers, that's something that we'll deploy in the event of emergency. If something like a PSPS happens in your community, we'll send community crew vehicles, and we'll talk a little bit about what those offer to the community and how we can assist when folks are faced with these serious situations. This is just another map here. Since we are the last presenter, I know everybody wants to go home, so I'm going to try and move this pretty quickly here. I know some folks are concerned about Carbon Canyon, and we've been doing a lot of covered conductor in Carbon Canyon. The installations along there have mitigated the need for PSPS. We haven't had any PSPSs, correct me, Bob, if I'm wrong, but since 2021? Yeah, so it's working, and we're really, really proud of that. And also the vegetation management efforts specific to Carbon Canyon and Chino Hills. About 467 circuits have been assessed and mitigated for hazardous trees. That's when we have some trees that are kind of growing into our lines. We want to make sure that we scale some of that back. We've had 0 interruptions the last couple years, so that's good. During a PSPS, those with access and functional needs are really important to us. We have a coordinator that will engage with community-based organizations like 211. Everybody familiar with 211? Raise your hand, anybody? Okay. If you're not, it's through the County of San Bernardino. It's a great resource for residents that need all sorts of needs. So in the event of an emergency, that's a huge resource. We're making sure that we're communicating with them all of the information of the public safety power shutdown and with the affected areas. We will also notify those in our medical baseline program, those customers, and we'll follow up with them. Something that we do is we'll go in person and check on you and make sure that you're aware that there's going to be this outage. And we want to make sure that you're prepared and that you have any medically necessary equipment prepared and taken care of for the event of that. We also do provide backup battery programs and in-vent support through the community hero vehicle. That's what I was mentioning earlier. That vehicle will sometimes provide, will have ice, will help you charge your phones if you're depleted on your batteries there. We will do a number of things just for creature comforts that you may have been displaced and not have with you at that time. And then we, of course, partner with our state and local agencies. So we love our partners, we love our fire department, we love our sheriff's department, and we want to work really closely with them to make sure that the public has all the information that they need. This is one of the outages in Chino Hills. The average frequency of our circuit interruptions has decreased significantly again since 2020. And they're performing significantly better than they have in the past. And we have less average minutes of the sustained interruptions in the community. But again, going back to PSPS, we have not had to have any of those because of the covered conductor and the upgrades that we've been making. Let's see, we've already talked about that. I know everybody wants to go home. So community resource centers, we already mentioned that. That's the PSP outage alert enrollment support will tell you that information we mentioned. Ice, snacks, water, restrooms, insulated bags for your medications as well. That'll be, and we do have translation services too in the area. So that will be deployed. We partner with 211, and we also, with our critical care battery backup program, we will, with eligible customers, will provide a battery backup for them during the event of a PSPS if you're in a high fire risk area. So that's really important that you sign up for that. Again, we have our brochures over there, but we need to know. We don't know if you don't tell us. So that's really important. And we also provide rebates on portable batteries and generators. On this link here, it says marketplace.sce.com. You definitely want to reach out on that website and take a look. We can't recommend any specific type of generator for you, but there are a number that are listed on that marketplace if you would like to take a look at that in the event of an emergency. This is something that's really, really important for us, and Sheriff and Fire tonight have both mentioned this, as well as updating your contact information. So we have a outage website that also encompasses our PSPS alerts, and we want to make sure that we have the most current contact information for you. Many times people have signed up for their Edison service 20 years ago, and they have a different email now, or they have a different phone number. So we want to make sure that what we have is the most current. So really encourage you to check that out. Go to the website. You can sign up for the alerts, and then you can look by your address even. You can look up information, certain areas. You can see all of those outages or public safety power shutoffs in your area. And the outage map is listed right here, sce.com/outage. That will be a huge, huge resource for you. And it is accessible on your phone too. So I know there was some concern about, if the power's out, I can't check my internet, I can't check my computer. It is accessible on your phone. So again, going back to what our first responders said, is making sure your cell phones are charged at all times so that you can still access this information. We want to make sure that you also be prepared. We have on our website, we have very similar resources that the fire and sheriff has as well to have an emergency plan, get a preparedness kit together, and definitely sign up for that medical baseline program or the critical care program. If you have reliant on a medical device for life-sustaining care, we want to make sure that we know that as well. And we will physically go to the home, and we will visit with you and make sure that you're okay if we know that one of these is occurring. So we take that very, very seriously. This is a number of websites. It's a lot of different websites here. I don't expect you all to remember them. You might want to take a screenshot. But for all things situational awareness, so wildfire, our weather cameras, the maps, we also have the customer programs and rebates listed there to the right. Marketplace, I mentioned, the critical care battery backup program, the medical baseline program as well. So please be sure to check this out. We have a lot of information on our website, and take advantage of those resources. And then this is, again, the website here where you can check out wildfire safety. And Bob, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, just any questions, we're happy to.
I know everybody wants to go. It's late, but.
We're last thing standing between you and the raffle. So, any questions, we're happy to take.
Okay, and we did have one question. Somebody did submit that asked us if we could recommend an earth generator for when an earthquake or if there is a power outage. And like I mentioned before, we don't have any specific that we can recommend to you. But if you go to that marketplace link and check that out, there are a number of rebates that are offered and different types that you can check out.
Thank you, guys. All right. And now, everyone's favorite time, raffle time. Right before we go into that, though, just one more round of applause for our wonderful speakers and our great booth hosts that we've had tonight. Thank you all for coming.